How you doing, YouTube? Matt with Massive Beer Reviews. Back to yet another review. A little bit of barrel-aged Imperial Milk Stout time. In form of Civil Society Brewing's Gary Loves the Coco. King Gary Loves the Coco. I missed that King part. That's how you know it's good. It's King Larry. First things first. Ralph, thank you very much, brother. He sent this off to me. King Ralph, King Shit of Beer Mountain. You know Ralph. He sends me so many crazy things. Crazy boxes of beer. Thank you very much, brother. Excited to give it a whirl because it's Civil Society. He sends me quite a bit from them, but this is a barrel-aged version of their beer. I believe I've had one barrel-aged version, barrel-aged beer from them. I think it was their Ella. It was a barrel-aged can of beer, and it was really good, so I'm super excited to give it a whirl. And he put dogs on it. That dog, Ella was one. You know, it's King Gary. Looks like, you know, they must have a dog called King Gary. It says King Gary Loves the Coco, barrel-aged Imperial Milk Stout, 10% alcohol by volume. Done. It's one of my favorite parts about Civil Society is that they do not write story time. They just get straight to the point. And I really dig the label. Their label art is pretty killer. You know, my relationship with Civil Society is, you know. Wow, that's fucking motor oil. You know, I don't say I'm hard on them. I just talk about beer the way I talk about beer, and then their hop forward stuff just doesn't really nail it for me. Getting much better. Some of the stuff I've had over the past, you know, last couple boxes I've got from Ralph have been much better. But darker stuff I've really dug. There was a smaller porter in there. Like I said, there was that Ella Loves, I think, something else. That one was really good. This one, I would say not off to a great start because that head, which was kind of like where I like my coffee to look like colored head, dissipated super quickly. I think that happened with the last barrel-aged beer I had from them. So we'll see what happens. So yeah, no head whatsoever, just rich darkness. A little blue blocker kind of legs on her, so she's got the staying power that way. Let's see if we get a nose. Okay, you're getting big, rich baker's chocolate. A little bit of sweetness out of that baker's chocolate. So I'm not really getting a ton of a milk stout over here. I'm getting more of a base stout. I do get a little bit of that milk stout, just a touch of it, enough to let you know, okay, it's not straight roasted baker's chocolate maltiness. But I thought there would be a little bit more, especially being the milk stout. There's a huge char character in here. It's gigantic. It's a smokiness along with a roasted malt thing that I think is just black on black, just big darkness. I know it's going to be sweet. It's a barrel-aged milk stout, but it doesn't come off that way. It comes off more of like a big, robust Russian Imperial bittering style Russian Imperial stout with a bit of barreling going on. I'm not getting a huge kind of spirit component, not a huge amount of bourbon. But you do get some of that soft cherry, soft red cherry. Like there's a purple cherry or yellow cherry. Red cordial cherry thing that's very soft, but it's kind of in the background. It's all about the bittering in here. It's all about the bittering roasted malts. It's all about the bittering chocolate. It's all about that bittering kind of roasted barrel in there. There's sweetness to be found, but those are the forefronts, at least in the nose. Sippy poo. Cheers. That's pretty much what you get. There's a sweetness to balance some of it off, but it's very much, in a way, a very bittering West Coast IPA has enough malt body to kind of balance off that bittering to where it doesn't go ape shit with the bittering. That's what you have going on here. Thick, motor oil style. Once you actually take a taste, that's what you're getting. You're getting just rich, dark chocolate malts that are just, you know, almost at a point where they're kind of like overly astringent bittering, but in a good way. This is not a negative thing. Just big, rich roasted malts, big, huge heaping helpings of baker's chocolate. You're getting that smoky barrel charriness. It's got a little bit of that chocolate rub thing going on that I've talked about in the past that I love so much, but it's definitely smoky. and not super smoky, but enough to be smoky with a bit of kind of bittering, and that kind of wood is kind of charred and just a little bit too smoky for most people, but for me, I'm kind of digging it. And it all kind of bounces across all that stuff, and then what you end up getting is just dollops, small portions, small little bits and pieces of sweet little bourbon, sweet little chocolate, sweet little lactose. It's so small compared to that bittering. That all that bittering kind of wins the day and defines the beer, but that sweetness needs to be there to keep this beer tolerable, not just tolerable, but enjoyable. I kind of like it because it's giving me a couple of things. One, it's giving me a more bittering, more mature kind of big milk stout. It's not getting too sweet. It's not throwing lactose like an asshole at itself. It's not throwing a ton of hot, sweet, wet bourbon barrel at itself. It's kind of just using those sweet bits and pieces to keep the bittering in play to where it doesn't get too crazy for you. And I kind of dig that. Flip the script to the other end, why I dig it, which is you're getting this out of Florida. I mean, Florida breweries are all about that fucking pastry stout, crazy, over-the-top, sweet, insane, fucking give you 9 levels of diabetes style stout, which I love. I'm not going to say I don't like that shit, but to actually get this kind of like, almost like old school style, barrel-aged, roasted, toasted, just not all about the sweetness kind of stout is kind of fucking cool. The carbonation died off, like you said, in the pour. It's not really there, but it doesn't bother me all that much because when you taste it, it's still there. It's still there. When you actually go and swallow it, it like gets all prickly and sprightly and explodes. So I think there might be some kind of like, and I'm not a brewer, but there has to be some kind of fatty thing going on the top of the beer that just kills the head. Some kind of oil. Just making that head be non-existent, but all at the same time, the beer still kind of retains some of its carbonation. I dig it. It works for me. I mean, the way the kind of bittering is the star of the show, and the way the sweetness kind of works to keep it all kind of not balanced, because it's not balanced, but in motion, for lack of a better word, is kind of cool. So I kind of dig it. I like it. Let's cut to the chase. Is it one of the better barrel-aged Imperial stouts I've had as of late? This is not on the outside, it's not on the inside. It's on the edge. I dig it. I like it. I've had much better, but I've definitely had way worse. I dig it. I like it. It's a good beer. It just, I think, in a perfect world, it could be tweaked in a way that I would dig it even more, but I dig it, but it's not a world beater for me. Value and availability, no idea. I'm sure Ralph will chime in, let us know what's what as far as availability and the whole nine, and leave you with, if you like what we like this. If you like kind of old school, kind of barrel-aged beers, if you don't like your barrels to be too sweet, too hot, more kind of on the bittering side of things, like kind of some of those Russian Imperial stouts, Americanized kind of super bittering style ones get. If you like those kind of beers, you want a little bit of barrel in play, that's kind of what you're getting here. It's nice, it's tasty, it's fun, and I dig it. There's a dog on the label. There you go. Another review down. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Down there if you want to talk about it. Massive Beers, type that into Google. You find me doing the social media stuff. Beer Massive, type that into Google. Or your favorite podcasting apps. You'd be doing the podcasting stuff. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. Hopefully enjoying a nice big motor oil of a beer right now. And hopefully see you next time. Cheers.